it's Jennifer here from Belladonna's Botanicals, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about common misconceptions when it comes to working with the demonic divine, and this is for a couple reasons. And a lot of this I'm going to be drawing in commentary and questions I've gotten on my YouTube channel. Most of this is coming from memory. I'm not addressing any one specific, but common themes and questions that I get because there are a lot of misconceptions about what demons are, what do they want, why do they work with us, and what exactly is their nature. The elephant in the room here is I want to talk about the binary of good and evil. Throw that out. Okay, now we can talk. That's the biggest problem when it comes to demons is that there is the misconception that comes from, I'm just going to say Western religions, the Abrahamic religions, mostly Christianity, in that demons are evil. They're Satan bad, God good, demons bad, demons evil, yakety schmackety. So how did that come about? Well, you see, a lot of what we call demons now, and the reason we have this funny word called demonizing, so when we demonize something, we therefore take it and make it inferior, bad, evil, negative, etc. So a lot of what we call demons are ancient pre-Christian gods and goddesses and deities from other cultures. Funny that. Now it's not to say other religions and stuff don't have sort of, what's the right word here? There's different types of spirits, and you can't really look at it as this is a good, angels are good, demons are bad, God is good, Satan bad. It's not that black and white. These things exist together, and it's if you're constantly looking at everything in either all good or all evil, or putting it in one bucket or the other, you're really minimizing whatever it is that you are categorizing that way, because things are usually a mix. And can demons be bad and evil? Sure. Can humans be bad and evil? Sure. Am I bad and evil because I work with demons? Not really. Sorry to disappoint you. I'm not. I work with the demonic divine for my own personal spiritual journey. Am I trying to destroy the world with demonic energy? No. Are there some people who are? Sure. Are there some people who are doing that with the Christo-fascist kind of stuff? Yeah. I think that's a bigger threat, actually, than, some satanic people dressed in black, going oogity boogity. So let's throw out the good and evil there. Because not for nothing, angels can be terrifying as and demons can be sometimes hilarious and lighthearted. So unless you're actually working with demons or the demon, I like to say the demonic divine, because I feel like demons, I feel like it's almost in a way like that. It's the term we use, but it's almost like a slur in a way. But part of that, the reason I stick with it is because, in the etymology of words, angels were the messengers, demons were the teachers. So put that into perspective. And think of it in these terms: is your mailman good and your high school teacher evil? I mean, I've had some evil teachers, so I get it, but I'm just saying in general, think of it in that terms. So we have thousands of years of, I don't know, negative press towards the demonic divine, these divine intelligences, and we can't live in a world where everything is all light or all dark. It's a spectrum. So you have a spectrum of color. You have a spectrum of all the shades of gray and black and white and everything possibly, conceivable in between. Um, that's one way to look at it. Now, in order to work with the demonic divines, you need to be an evil badass, whatever. Now, the people who are the badass black magicians and lopping off chicken heads and being, edgelord, whatever, they're pretty easy to spot. And, I don't really think they're actually working with what they say they are. They're working with their own ego constructs. And because you know what? If they were truly working with the demonic divine, their lives would be getting better instead of consistently worse. So yay, methgicians of the world unite, and oh, sorry about all them chickens. That's a clucking shame. But happiness aside, what I'm talking about here is people who truly work with the demonic divine in terms of demonolatry. Um, and there are different ways of working with demons. Like I stand by my thing. I do not like I do not like the rituals from the Ars Goetia or the Grimoire Verum or the Grand Grimoire. I don't like those old rituals. I think they are the pinnacle of man's ego, of thinking we are higher than divine intelligences and forcing them to do our bidding, commanding them by force and threatening them. That is just to me a really rude practice. And I'm sorry if you practice that way and it works for you, great. Just to me, it would be like pulling my neighbor in off the street and forcing them to come into my house and hear me, here, let's listen to some Slayer and talk about demons when they really don't want to. Versus going, hey buddy, do you want to come over and have some tea and whatnot, and let's we'll talk about whatever we'll do, we'll watch a movie or do some arts and crafts or whatever. So there's a difference in approach. I think that if you approach a divine intelligence respectfully, they will work with you. If you are threatening them, pulling them, summoning them into this plane by force, I think that's where a lot of the problems occur when you hear about negative stories about demons. And I'm going to put one caveat here. A lot of what has been purported to be demonic possessions and cases of a house having a demonic presence or whatever, a lot of that is honestly just the spirits of the dead or elementals, or there's a lot of different types of spirits. Everyone just goes straight to blaming the demons for literally everything. It's the devil made me do it of it all. So that doesn't hold up. You are responsible for your actions. The demons didn't make you did it. You did it. So, but yes, anytime I've had issues in my life with any kind of unwanted spirit activity or negative spirit activity, it has been a ghost or a poltergeist, a spirit of a deceased person. Those are the ones that are going to have a lot more of, they can be malevolent or just confused. So that's something to consider there as well. And there's all types of nature spirits. Like right now, I've been having like a crazy time since I moved. The land spirits up here love me, and I am just attracting everything onto my house. And then I'm also getting a lot of like imps and trickster kind of spirits. So sometimes those spirits are making, weird things happen. Like, my air filter in the hallway jumps out of the wall on occasion. I'm not sure. I mean, I've probably walked by and knocked it out once or twice myself, but there's other things that go on too. Like I was having a whole bunch of tech issues, and I had my friend do a scan. I'm like, I suspect I might have some imps in my computers and printers, and lo and behold, she's like, yeah, I don't know what the hell you have in there. It's clear now though. So a lot of times we have that. Sometimes people, like other sorcerers, will send their familiars, or if they work with like incubi or succubi after you. I've had experiences like that when it was something that was bound to someone in that sense. But was their succubi a demon, or was their incubi a demon, or was their familiar? No, more on like, honestly, I think more on like the thought form spectrum with that kind of projection, because you can create servitors to do all sorts of things. I mean, I have a protection one. I might make some more, but I actually have to find my protection one. Anyways, before I get distracted, because we all know that there is a high risk of that. So, working with the demonic divine, do I need to practice animal sacrifice? Nope. Some do. I've never had a single entity I work with be like, "Y'all, girl, you need to go start lopping heads off chickens or goats or whatever." Nope. Honestly, when it comes to that, again, I default to human ego. A lot of what we do in ritual and a lot of what we do in spells is human ego driven. 100%. We just say, it's the devil made me do it of it all. And we just say the spirits want that. Belial wants me to sacrifice chickens. Yeah, that sort of thing. Belial has never once asked me for anything of that ilk. And I've been working with Belial for like the past 4 years. So again, sometimes we project what we like and what we think and what our, our projection of what we need to look like and act like as whatever you want to fill in the blank here. I would say a lot of those people are not true demonolators. I mean, maybe satanic, Luciferian, black magicians. And they're in it more for the scene, like they're scenesters, like the style, like aesthetic style people, who are like, "Ooh, I'm a badass Satanist, and I kill chickens, and fear me, because I'll death curse you for looking at me wrong way." That's just kind of pathetic. I mean, like, really, if you're following those types of people or you're practicing in that way, I mean, if you think it works for you, great. I'll just be over here actually working with a demonic divine. So I don't know what you're working with, but anyways. So no, some do, and that is not just in traditions working with the demonic divine. That there are many other traditions that practice animal sacrifice, and for a variety of reasons, to each their own. I'm not going to poo-poo and besmirch different cultural traditions and stuff like that, because I'm not part of them, so I don't really understand the methodology of that entirely. It's not my area of expertise and knowledge. So, yeah. Um, Now, do people make blood offerings? Sure, I do the diabetic lancet finger prick. Is it mandatory to do blood offerings? No, because not everyone can. If you have a history of cutting, of unaliving ideations and things like that, that might be triggering for you, or it might be a slippery slope that could take you to a very dark place. So, or you might be a hemophiliac and you can't, because that's a bleeding like that would be a high risk. So, are the demons not going to work with you because you can't give them blood? That seems to be a construct of, again, what was that thing? Oh, the human ego. And the human ego can be quite ableist. So by the things a lot of people say, if they really sat and think about, I'm like, so you're telling me disabled people can't practice magic or work with spirits because they can't, build a sacred circle and roll their wheelchair around or hobble with a cane for hours on end. So the spirit world just is like, piss off. No, it's about meeting you where you are, and it's perfect. And as I talk about that, it's perfectly fine to change and adapt things to suit your needs. Um, they're not going to be like, well, you couldn't afford the expensive candles, so we're not going to work with you, Missy. Sorry. So the next misconception. This came from a comment on a video. I think it was since deleted, but on the topic of people, human, dramatic pause for for non-shadow banning purposes, sacrifice. So the topic of those two words came up. I don't know anyone who practices that. I mean, yes, I'm sure it happens. There was that case in England from a couple years ago where someone did, but I actually just finished reading a book. I mean, it was okay. It was on that topic, throughout different cultures, throughout the history, time. Like back then when we used to throw virgins in volcanoes to appease the angry gods or for a better harvest, that kind of thing. Um, and it goes, in different cultures. It happens. I can't say that it doesn't, but it's not as common as you probably would think. So, or that, what's the word? It's the religious hysteria will have you believe. So, no, that's not it. Again, most of us, live perfectly, normal lives and in our own way and do our own thing, and we're not out to, destroy the world. Sure, we have to deal with the handful of edge lords who think that's what they're doing and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, let me know when you move out of the trailer park of your mom's basement in the trailer park. Um, but yeah, so there's a lot of things you don't have to do to work with the demonic divine. And there are considerations that come into play, like, it's thinking about working with these different spirits. Like once you have a relationship with them, it becomes different. But I wouldn't necessarily, if I was in the throes of a very deep, dark depression, I probably wouldn't start working with, war gods or something like that, or the death current or something like that, because that might influence and have a physiological impact on my health and my physical and mental health. So, are all people who work with demons mentally ill, delusional, psychotic? In a lot of cases, yes, some are. Um, it's just like that with anything. Are there delusional, psychotic people in the church and the Vatican and wherever? Yeah, uh-huh. Are all of them? No. So we need to learn to push back past our biases when it comes to how we look at things that go against the grain and are different. So yes, are some does some people have mental illness and can't tell the difference between reality and anything else? Yeah, absolutely. I see it all the time. It's 100% obvious when you do. When you see it, you can't unsee it. Most of us, like, I mean, we're human. We have our struggles. I mean, I've struggled with depression. I don't struggle with delusions of grandeur, delusion, hallucinating, psychotic breaks with reality, and things of that nature. My mental illness is complex post-traumatic stress disorder from shit I've experienced in my life, and mostly autism spectrum disorder stuff. And everything else kind of gets filtered through that. So if it's depression or anxiety, it gets filtered through. Is this coming out of the trauma pool? Is this coming out of the neurodivergence pool? Or is it hitting everything? So am I batshit crazy, delusional, no grasp in reality? No. Um, because I know in the times when I have struggled the hardest, because one of the things that has happened to me, when especially in the PTSD realm, is if I dissociate, I'm like out of body. So like I wouldn't be able to tell you what happened during the ritual or what great conversation I had with Lucifer if I was dissociated out of my body into that kind of state. I would have no recollection of it because I'm not there. So when you understand from multiple perspectives, not only from self experiential, but from witnessing someone having a psychotic break or whatnot, you can tell, the difference. Um, when someone is delusional and has no grasp on reality and grounding versus someone who has a very rich, fulfilling spiritual experience. There is a difference. It may not be easy to discern if you're going to come in it as, well, all these bitches be crazy. Um, so that is another topic I wanted to address. Yes, some people are bat crap crazy. Get that anywhere. Is everyone? No. Should you treat everyone like they are all the worst of the worst? No, but if you're that type of person, I can't stop you, but I can definitely block you from leaving comments on my channel or social media, block you from social media. I have no problem with that. I am very much, I hold my boundaries very firmly. And if my boundaries are violated, bye-bye. Especially if I'm like, hey, don't do this thing. Hey, could you not? Hey, please respect my time. Hey, please respect my. No. I will give you the benefit of the doubt and some gentle reminders, but if you keep pushing past my boundaries, bye, bye. So, what other things can we talk about here? Um, what I've discovered in working with the spirit world and this kind of there was a meme I saw earlier today and I was thinking about this and it was the whole Jesus was white thing. I'm like, well, okay, hear me out. If we were made in God's image and likeness, I'm just using God here. So if we were made in God's image and likeness, yes, God is white. God's also black, Asian, and on down the line, masculine, feminine, everything else on that spectrum in between. God is all things. So yes, God can be white, but also black, male, female, otherwise. Because that would be an interpretation of made in God's image and likeness. Now, is God only some according to Renaissance painting, some big billowy sky daddy with long flowing white hair and a beard? No, but if that's your relationship with how you see God, that's fine. But that's not the only definition of how God would appear. That said, same thing applies to the whole of the spirit world. They're gonna appear to you based upon your visual frame of reference and your lived experiences. There is nothing that says that Jesus, Lucifer, any of them have to be some pretty little, bearded white boy or anime character or whatever. They can be whatever however you want to work with them. If you approach them with fear, yeah, they're going to probably show up as some big scary, rah, kind of what we think of in that sense. But most of them show up kind of how based on my experiences, my frame of references. And yeah, sometimes you'll get a pop culture overlay to them, or sometimes you will get just, weird things. Like I know for me working with Belial and I get vibe on the sense of humor thing. So he just kind of shows up in random guises to amuse me sometimes. And I've heard that he does that with other people too. So what else can we talk about here with working with the demonic divine? So so the next misconception I want to talk about is, again, this kind of hits upon the binary of it all. In that, hi, my light worker friends. You can't have light without darkness. It has no meaning. You need to do the shadow work. You need to balance the light and dark. You can't just be like, oh, I walk the path of light, you lowly peon who works with darkness and dark spirits. I'm going to look down my nose at you because I am so much better. I've dealt with people like that. I've dealt with customers like that. And I've canceled orders on people for shit like that. It's like, oh, well, you work with, I'm like, so just here as a caveat for what I do business wise is that I know that not everyone wants to work with demonic energy. So unless a product says like Lucifer's love drawing oil or Belial's, Hammer of Justice court case oil or something like that, I work with general magical, general energy, universal life force energy, source energy, whatever you want to call it. So that anyone can use those products. So if you are love and light, whatever, you can still use that stuff. If you want to use it and, be a satanic witchy poo, also perfectly fine. But it's the people who look down their nose that I have a problem with. I don't particularly care what your practices are. If you're only focused on the light, there's a lot of toxicity. I've been part of the wellness community for a long time. I have seen some exceptionally egregious toxic behavior from the new age industrial complex. I mean, go on Netflix and YouTube. How many exposés and documentaries are there now on new age cult leaders? There's not a whole lot in there on satanic cult leaders, but a lot of new age bullshit, guru, wellness crap. So yeah. And that's something for me that I am very cognizant of in having a voice and a channel and a business and a presence and stuff like that, is that no, this is not a cult. I am not a cult leader. And I will point out culty behaviors that I see and talk about it because it's something because a lot of times I don't think these cults, like someone wakes up one day, I'm going to start a cult and let's see what happens. I mean, unless you're L. Ron Hubbard, don't want to say more, so ontology doesn't sue me, but yeah. So most people I don't think set out to start a cult. I think the cult kind of forms around a cult of personality. And again, what do we have at the center of the cult of personality? Human ego. And as people are told they're gods and goddesses and, a manifestation of the divine and all this stuff, sometimes some people believe their own bullshit and don't question it. And when someone else questions it, yeah. So. Let's see. A little timeout here. I may add some more stuff to this, or maybe I'll follow up to this again. But I just wanted to kind of throw together some thoughts that I had about working with the demonic divine. And this can apply to anything. You know what? There's no one right or wrong way to do things. I mean, I guess technically there could be, like, you don't need to sacrifice humans. Yeah. Because a lot of it, I guess the thing that I want to talk about, maybe this will be in closing because I don't want the video to be like 4 hours long, but a lot of these things come down to superstitions. Why do people practice different types of sacrifice in that sense? Some of it goes to deeply ingrained superstitions that we have, step on a crack, break your mama's back, throwing salt over the shoulder if you spill it. There's a lot of things that are superstitions that we are taught. I have some weird ones myself, so I'm not saying like, if you grew up with an Eastern European family, now I get this from a hygienic perspective, but also I learned this one from my grandmother. If you put shoes on the table, doesn't matter if they're in a gym bag, you just bought them at the store and they're in a box. You put the shoes on the table, someone's gonna shuffle off this mortal coil. That's a superstition. And to this day, I will never put shoes in any capacity on a table unless although, hey, there you go. For some Slavic black magic, cursing, take a picture of someone, put a pair of shoes on it on a table. That'll take care of it. Um, but I digress. So a lot of things are rooted in superstition, and that does run deep in different cultures, and it is very different as to what those superstitions are and why they exist. Um, like breaking a mirror is bad luck. Well, I've broken a plenty of mirrors for art projects and rituals and shit like that. So, um, do I have bad luck? Sure, I'm human. Think shit happens, you know? It's not to say all of that happened because I broke the mirror. It would be easy to fall onto superstition and the devil made me do with it all and break and blame that broken mirror for all the woes in my life. So, no, not the mirror's fault, but you can train your brain. You can train your brain to start equating that one thing. So I broke that mirror. Now, every single thing that happens in a normal course of the day, you're going to start, and things you probably wouldn't even pay attention to. Like, oh, I dropped this on the floor and it broke. Oh, whatever. You're gonna start looking at all these little things. Oh, I got a paper cut. Oh, my printer doesn't work. You're gonna start looking at them and be like, it's because I broke that mirror, isn't it? And you're gonna convince yourself of that. I mean, a lot of I feel like that sometimes with Mercury retrograde, like, is this the stuff that just goes on normally? But because it's Mercury retrograde, we're like, oh shit, it's Mercury retrograde. It's more amplified. Everything's going to go wrong. And we expect it. And sometimes when we do things like that, we make them manifest. Like I say that a lot of times with like curse work. If you're sitting there like obsessing that someone has cursed you, um, you're going to make that curse way worse than it might possibly be because you're feeding it your energy, you're feeding it your fear. So, um, and what's it like working with demons? I mean, it's like working with any spirit. Whether I'm working with the dark goddesses, whether I'm working with any of the demonic divine, different deities, and spirit guides, ancestors, animal guides, other types, elementals, other types of spirits. I mean, I'm trying to think of how to describe this or explain this. So we humans have categorized spirits into different classifications, archetypes, pantheons, traditions, whether it's a jinn or a fae or a demon or an angel or god, a goddess, we humans give names to these things. So that's one way we have to think about that. So again, human ego. I regret nothing. I mean, I've been doing this working in more on the demonic divine side and demonolatry for the past 4 years. But the spirits have been coming to me since I was very young. I mean, we're talking like for decades. Like because I kept a lot of journals and writing and stuff like that, so I can see where these different entities have been like, hey girl, over the course of my life. So some people are called to work with spirits, some people aren't. And like I was a hardline agnostic atheist for a very long time, but that had to do with a lot of uh, religious trauma from going to Catholic school and church. So yeah. So I hope you found some of this helpful. This is by all means not an exhaustive list. I may make more. You may have more videos in the future, but this was just something as I got up today, I felt like talking about a little bit. Because I do get questions from like family members and friends like that are curious about or just don't sort of understand the nature of spirit work. Because a lot of people, unless you're really intensely doing this and have dedicated your life to whatever aspect of spiritual exploration that you're pursuing, most people don't work with spirit the way we do and aren't connected to them in the way we do. And that's going to be really hella confusing for people to understand who don't have that experiential knowledge base behind them. So, yes, you're going to have people who make stupid comments, who are rude, who just do not get it, who refuse to get it, who are just like, nope, you're evil. Bye. But I digress. I'm actually a decent human being. I mean, like most people, I mean, don't try me. I mean, I will defend myself if necessary, but generally speaking, I'm just a gal. I live in a small town now. Quiet life. Am I evil? No. Did the devil make me do it? No, I make my own decisions. The only thing the devil made me do once was make a angel food cake with a rose glaze and a rose petal infused glaze, and it was delicious. So it was an offering I made or very early on when I was working with Lucifer. But anyways, I'm Jennifer. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, smash the notification bell, follow us on social media, and sign up for our e-newsletter because algorithms suck, y'all.